Now, for more and further insight, we are being joined by foreign policy analyst Edward P. Joseph from North Macedonia. He is a senior fellow at the Johns Hopkins University. Edward, thank you for joining us. Do you think that Iran is trying to get the U.S. involved in a larger conflict in the Middle East? And the reason for that is there is this concern that the United States is not publicly saying that Iran was directly involved in this latest attack by Hamas against Israel because of that, possibly.
It's a very important question, Susan, and I think you alluded to the background for this question in your introduction, where you mentioned that Iran has long supported Hamas. So we don't know the specific answer to it. We don't know the specific answer to the extent of any support and training, which could well have been provided to these terrorists who attacked so many innocent Israeli civilians, including killing, slaughtering, really, we have to use that word, over 200 young people attending a concert. So we have to be very clear about the nature of this attack, both its concept and its scale, and it's determined and not just indiscriminate, but deliberately intentional, focused on slaughtering kids at a concert. Hardly the work of freedom fighters and much more the work of terrorists. And would Iran conceivably have been behind this? Well, we don't know in terms of specific events, but we do know, as you said, that Iran supports Hamas. We know that Iran has an existential policy against Israel, existentially calling for the destruction of Israel. And we know Hamas also has a similar policy. It refuses to recognize Israel in its repudiated Israel and its existence. So those dynamics potentially come together, but do we have actual facts linking the two? No, we don't have that at this time. Please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the details. Edward, why is the United States paying Iran millions during the war? Just 2 days ago, there were reports that the U.S. government allegedly pays Iran $43 million in damages. This is apart from that $6 billion regarding the prisoner swap, which has been out in the open. There's been a lot of criticism regarding that. But this, I mean, just 2 days ago, is this a policy of appeasement by the Biden administration? And is there a concern that if it's not, at least it's being viewed that way?
Well, it is being viewed that way, and I'll point that out in a second. But let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the words of this is WION Network of Prime Minister Modi of India, who has been unequivocal, absolutely unequivocal, stating the people of India stand firmly with Israel in this difficult hour. India strongly and unequivocally condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. And Prime Minister Modi has been in contact with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. I just wanted to mention that for your many viewers who are watching in India. But this other question in terms of the use of this by Republicans, of course, come on, this is politics. The opposition parties will grasp at anything to try to make the current leadership look bad. And the Republicans are doing this, in this case, seizing on, you're right, Susan, that recent agreement that released $6 billion in Iranian funds from South Korea, moving it to Qatar, where it is meant to go for humanitarian reasons. Now, does that money, which I understand, which has not yet been dispersed, did that in some way give some financial confidence to Iran? We don't know the answer to that. It's very difficult to say. That's speculative. But regardless of financial incentive, we know before that Iran has a existential policy against the existence of Israel. And one other thing here we have to understand, very important, Susan. Iran sees the Palestinian issue. They exploit the Palestinian issue and Palestinians, knowing here full well that Palestinians will inevitably die in the counter defensive by Israel. But Iran sees the Palestinians as forward defense. They see the exploitation of groups in Israel and on Israel's border as a means of applying forward pressure on Israel militarily, constraining Israel and making it more difficult for Israel potentially to address Iran's nuclear threat. And of course, we know Iran does the same thing in its Arab Muslim neighbors, like as it does supporting Bashar Assad in Syria, its actions in Yemen, and its actions in Lebanon. So we know that it has assets like Hezbollah in Lebanon that it uses to pressure and destabilize those governments. We're not talking about Israeli, we're talking about Arab governments that it does not see as favorable to its regional interests, which are very, very dangerous. Please.
Yeah, a very nuanced point indeed. Edward, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to speaking to you again. What can I say? I hope under better circumstances.
Likewise. Thank you very much.